5. Bans flying thick and fast. Unicorns removing Zed, Siva, as well as Lissandra, and H2K have taken off that Cassiopeia and Maokai from Chachi, but Gnar is still available.
A lot of teamfight focus from H2K in their bans, and I really like the Sivir ban coming in here because Hjarnan as well. He's not a hard carry, AD carry. He's more about utility, helping the team. And what H2K did so well last week was when Hjarnan would get an advantage, he will play Sivir and he would just fast push waves. He would get one out of it, go to mid lane, get another one, go to top lane. And he really used that wave clear and again, fast pushing ability to just get a massive lead for H2K in both the games. So that's why Unicorns targeted, ban it away and say, okay, let's see what our two AD carries can do when they're no longer playing that supportive or utility-focused AD carry Sivir is.
Well, we'll see what the teams decide. Fairly quick lock-in for Kikis on that Jarvan. This will be the 4th time that he's played the champion. Again, very high kill participation, 89% for Kikis on Jarvan IV.
Yeah, but one of the first times we actually got to see Unicorns a lot not first picking Gnar when he was open. Normally they will instant lock him, especially also with Lissandra being taken away. KaSing is open, not being taken in the first rotation by H2K, so that could be the go-to signal for PowerOfEvil, especially because Cassiopeia has been banned away, who has a fairly good matchup against him.
And if you contrast PowerOfEvil KaSing versus Ryu KaSing, PowerOfEvil has managed to earn himself 6 kills, 0 deaths, 8 assists in one game, and Ryu is simply not shown. Played one, he went 5-4 and 4. And Ryu struggled when he's playing those assassins overall. We'll get to that in a second. Irelia and Corki locked in. Unicorns with a very powerful mid game.
Okay, so this explains the first pick Jarvan. First of all, you take it away from loulex, and then you actually somewhat bait H2K to taking that Gnar, so you don't have that Gnar and Jarvan combination we've seen so many times. And you pick Irelia into it. Irelia will beat Gnar in a one-on-one, especially once Trinity Force is completed, but you are weaker in terms of team fighting. So as long as Unicorns can keep Odoamne in a side lane with Vizicsacsi, then they suddenly have the edge here because of their Irelia matchup, and that's what they've been doing, and we've seen it before as well, taking this kind of comp. So that's why they first picked the Jarvan and actually give Gnar over.
Well, we'll see if Unicorns can maintain control of the map by keeping H2K in one of those side lanes. H2K last week demonstrated near flawless map play, near flawless transitions and rotations between lanes. They've got themselves a very mobile jungler in Rek'Sai, and Hjarnan's grabbed himself that bursty Graves. It'll be the 2nd time he will be performing on that AD carry. A fairly meta, fairly standard team composition here for H2K. KaSing still available, and mid lane is left to be locked in.
Very, very standard all around. Good lanes, early jungler who can make some plays. We saw how obviously Reignover were basically running rings around Svensson on Jarvan earlier today with his Rek'Sai. loulex looking to do the same. He's always extremely active early on. He's really the guy trying to snowball the team. And then of course we want to see what KaSing can do, because he actually had a great start last week. Both the games, it was him with the first blood onto Nif, really starting to snowball against elements. He likes to play Annie, he likes to play Thresh. Thresh already been picked, so I'm not even sure why I'm talking about it. Whatever support picks is going to be for KaSing.
Well, Unicorns of Love rounded out the team composition. PowerOfEvil going to arguably his signature champion, Syndra. It has been hit or miss, but he definitely knows how to land those stuns. Morgana as that disengaged support. There is poke, there is siege, there is burst. H2K still have to decide who they put mid lane and who they're going to run into this Syndra from PowerOfEvil.
Yeah, I mean, you can go for a very safe choice in Orianna, but you kind of give up all the pressure in the lane. We have seen it being played from Ryu beforehand. And then again, you have a very strong 5-on-5 team fight. In that case, KaSing also open for him.
LeBlanc open, Lulu open.
Yeah, LeBlanc, Syndra.
Ari open. What does Ryu want to go to round out the team composition? It's going to be that team fight, as you predicted, Deficio. Orianna.
Yeah, so just very safe. You give up all the pressure in the lane. So this opens up for Unicorns of Love to push in that mid lane and then have Kikis, as he likes to do, play a bit more aggressive. But you don't really want to walk in and try and duel that Rek'Sai too often for him. But Unicorns, as you just said before, they have a lot of options here. You can siege up with a Syndra Corki into mid-game fairly easily. You have the split pushing potential of an Irelia. You have the Black Shield from Morgana, so there's some disengage coming in. A very, very standard but all-around team comp, where H2K is more about this straight-up 5-on-5 team fight here. And Mega Gnar goes in. Orianna and Graves combined with the two ultis. That's your AoE wombo combo you gotta pull off. Once that is gone, however, that's where it becomes pretty tough for them against a lot of sustained damage from unicorns.
Well, we saw throughout the entirety of that last minute, Sheepy as well as Prolly really in full discussion with their teams. We've heard from both of the respective coaches that in those last minutes they just discuss how to play the comp, things to remember, warding strategies. Deficio, we've touched on the timing of these team comps. We will see them in just a moment, but I think it's all about the mid game for the Unicorns of Love. And I feel if H2K are given time to scale, I think I prefer their comp in the late game. Yes, there's risk, inherent risk in that wombo combo, but I don't know, I think they can make it work. H2K have shown great team play.
It can be slightly stronger, but it's not too big of a difference. Unicorns of Love have loads of things they can still do.
Well, you did see those team comps, guys. Hit us up on Twitter. Hashtag UOL win or hashtag H2K win. And I've got a fun mini game. This is the battle, in my mind, of the up-and-coming Swedish ADCs. The Swedish AD carries that everybody's talking, where do they actually rank? What is their power level? And let's see who can claim victory over their opponents.
Yeah, they might think they're up among the best AD carries, and maybe they are. We're going to have to see as we go further into the season, but we just have to admit, when it comes to H2K and Unicorns of Love, you don't really talk about the AD carries.
Nope.
Again, it's about the solo lane, it's about the junglers. They are the playmakers on these two teams here. And obviously Hylissang and KaSing, we heard some praise from Taps on the desk for Hylissang. They also like to play fairly aggressive.
Deficio, it looks like we're going to have standard lanes, so while we wait for this to set up, I'm going to ask you a question. Last week, both of these teams went 2-0. Which team demonstrated a higher level of play in their victories, in your opinion?
So I want to say H2K because they won on 30 minutes in both the games, but they played Elements and Rocket, two teams known for being very weak early on. And again, if you manage to get that kind of snowballing like H2K did, you can close it out very easily. But I just like the way they really moved around the map. There was barely any mistakes from them, and that's again why I feel like H2K looks slightly better, but it's impossible to say. Now they're facing each other, different opponents. I don't expect to see the same kind of mistakes like we saw Rocket and Elements do early on from Unicorns here.
So we'll see if Unicorns can maintain control in the early game. Nothing really surprising as far as itemization is concerned. We do see both of the top laners hanging out with their junglers to set up that very early buddy system. And Hylissang going to get an early ward, an early vision.
So he's just trying to spot if H2K actually doing the Gromp and see if he can stop them on it. And as soon as they saw him roam around, they decided to not start it and instead go down to this lane here. Normally, or otherwise on Thresh and Graves, you can take Gromp really easily, even flake the Gromp down towards the tri-bush so you have a shorter route into the lane itself. But we're gonna just see no XP advantage, fairly standard start. Same goes for the top lane. Cloth 5 actually from Odoamne, so really not looking to bully out the Irelia instead. Just have these very, very long trades where you're going to out-sustain her instead, but she has a flask and potion, so it's going to be a bit of a farm lane between these two.
Oh, we'll see who can come out ahead.
Okay.
Holy moly! Unicorns have got some fans. Those fellas last week with the unicorn head masks. Mask is the word I'm looking for. Obviously chiming in 91%. But it is up to this game to determine who's going to control that mid stage. Odoamne, as you've touched on, defensive start, shoved the wave in. We did see PowerOfEvil shoving the mid lane in against Ryu. And a moment ago, Hjarnan and KaSing pushing as well.
Yeah, Vizicsacsi was helping Kikis with the Gromp, so just came a little bit later to the lane phase. I actually didn't see if Odoamne did the same, but it doesn't even matter. Gnar early on will always be able to poke the Irelia with range, push down the wave. It's going to be all about the Trinity Force completed or just phage into Sheen, and that's where Vizicsacsi can take over the lane and start jumping the Gnar.
Well, KaSing threads the needle, hooks that death sentence onto Vardags to put some poke down. 16 CS to what'll be 15 shortly. Oh, missed actually by Vardags. And now a trade in the top lane. This was meant to be a farm lane. Odoamne and Vizicsacsi putting a lot of hurts.
Can still be a farm lane because there's so many potions and ways of getting HP back for them. So once they take one trade, they just back away, use all the sustain, and then they go at it once again. Whoever wins those trades and forces the first guy to run out of potions or flask charges can then force him back to base and actually start getting an edge in the lane.
Well, let's see if KaSing can get to the point in a couple of levels time where he can pop that black shield It's just that death sentence if he decides to skill that route. Gives him the opportunity to burst it down and still get CC after.
Yeah, and also we normally see the cooldown reduction builds on Thresh, where it's really good when you max your hook, the Q, because it goes down every level in terms of cooldown. And also if you do manage to connect it, there's a 3 seconds less cooldown, so the more cooldown reduction, obviously the more often you can spam it out. And I believe actually on 40%, if you manage to connect the hook, you go down to like 4.5 seconds cooldown on it. So that's very low for the late game stages, focusing. But again, I mean, top lane, just to go back to that top 5, I actually quite like it, because you know Irelia starting flask potions, so it means you won't get out-sustained and can just stay here and keep farming.
So let's see how much trouble Odoamne is in. The wave is probably going to push away from him in a moment or two. We'll see how that plays out. We did see Kikis hanging out. Hylissang eats a death sentence and a buckshot. Damage gets put in reply. Here comes loulex from the background. Flashes are available. The chilling smite goes out. loulex unable to knock anyone up, but they get flash and heal from Vardags and Hylissang. He'll be happy with that trade.
Yeah, good little gank here just to force the 2 summoners set up by KaSing again. And 2 top laners, they're not stopping.
Yeah, take a look at Vizicsacsi. He's actually put 3 points into that Hjarnan style, not looking for the burst, just consistent damage over time, as well as that sustain. Here comes Kikis. Does have the ability to knock Odoamne up, but Odoamne with hop and flash, I'm not expecting it. He instantly hops away. Actually going to be cheeky enough, get excited with that hyper and put damage down. H2K sensing an opportunity. He started a relatively risky dragon. Yeah. loulex is low.
Very big difference though in what both teams are doing early on. You see loulex go for the safer option, where KaSing could connect the hook and then actually set up. He forced 2 summoners. Now he gets a dragon as well because he was on the bottom side of the map controlling it. While Kikis has actually been wasting his time, making sure Vizicsacsi could push in the wave. That's why he was staying out there. You saw as soon as he went for the gank, it was like, oh, you're just going to jump away anyway. So Kikis is just staying there to make sure Vizicsacsi can farm. But that cost him the dragon and, of course, his bottom lane, the summoners.
Well, another early game advantage for H2K. That's 3 games in a row that they've shown straight out the gates. They can make the right plays, they can make the right decisions. They did this last week, and they started well this week.
Yes, it might be an advantage now, but once Irelia, again, as we talk about, get close to that Trinity Force, then she will take over the lane, and then suddenly it's an advantage to Unicorns of Love that they secured Vizicsacsi in the lane itself to pick up farm. Not really been denied too much. So it just depends on how you look at it, and it's different times it's going to benefit you.
We'll see who can take advantage of that. 7 minutes on the clock. Even gold. Look at CS numbers. Chachi under a little bit of pressure from that mini Nars auto attack. So he's about 6 down. Even in the mid lane. Even on your AD carries. Gold as close as it's going to be. We're going to have to settle ourselves in for a long one. Both of these teams fairly happy to wait for their first items before they pick any fights.
But Unicorns will hit quite a large mid-game spike compared to H2K as well. On their side, when you have 1 item completed for the Syndra, magic penetration as well coming in. You see PowerOfEvil even waited till he could buy a large rod for himself. So he's going to be very, very strong already. And then obviously Corki Trinity Force, Irelia Trinity Force means that the Unicorns have a window where they can force these towers here, fast push them down before Orianna gets to a 2-3 item spike herself, where she can really become useful.
Oh, KaSing is in trouble. Let's see what can happen. No engage from the rest of UOL. Not enough deep vision, and Ryu was close by.
2 supports roaming already, leaving the AD carries on their own. Graves and Corki are 2 of the AD carries who can sit and farm. And don't really need the support to stay. One of the reasons they're so good in the current meta, where you have all this roaming between supports.
I can hear loulex using that tremor sense, looking for targets. But Unicorns still playing relatively aggressive. They do have the support of PowerOfEvil if they were to break out into a fight. But just a lot of posturing, just a lot of standoff and tension between these 2 teams.
But it was a good play by Unicorns, recalling slightly earlier than H2K's dual lane, at least for KaSing. And have Hylissang group up with Kikis just to place these 2 deep wards, so you now have full information on where loulex is. If he's around the top side, you can just see them ping him out. Which again means you can play more aggressive in the lane. You don't have to worry about your Irelia suddenly being ganked, because you could see loulex in that jungle here. So just getting some extra information on the side of Unicorns, opening up for more options. Again, you're pre-planning what's going to happen in a few minutes. And that's why the deep wards are so important.
Well, we'll see what Unicorns can decide to do. They seem content to farm their way up. Got themselves some decent bursty items. sheen on both the top and bottom lane, as well as that needlessly large rod. If they get damage down, it's going to hurt.
Yeah, and I expect PowerOfEvil to just sit on this large rod for some time and get a Morellonomicon before he completes it, so he get that cooldown reduction, obviously the 80 AP as well, because you don't really benefit too much from getting a Death Scab as your first item. You don't really use the passive well enough. So you rather get that cooldown reduction as well from the Morellonomicon and the mana regen, of course.
It's a great demonstration of skill shots there from PowerOfEvil, connecting everything. Does take an attack and dissonance in reply. And something that we haven't touched on yet, loulex has been in control of the crab in the lower half of the river, where Kikis has been in control in the crab in the top half of the river. So making sure they're farming their way up. Kikis already got warrior enchantment. Some good aggressive plays from KaSing, throwing the lantern out. This is actually something that Krepo said last week while watching KaSing's games. He's got the cojones to move forward and throw the lantern out regardless of the supporters there, just psyching his opponent.
Yeah, mind games. If he does it 2 or 3 times, and there's no jungler showing up, then the 4th time he does it, well, you're like, he's just baiting us again, and suddenly loulex is there in your face. So just mind games, and again, you can also do it if it's a very passive lane, like in this case, where they're just farming, no real action going on, so you don't have to keep that lantern ready for Mr. KaSing. But honestly, Unicorns are just waiting to hit this mid-game spike where one item is completed for the 3 carries before they want to group up and start pressuring any turrets or dragons in this case. While H2K obviously want more time for Ryu to scale up.
Oh, whoppa! Misclick. Ryu hoping to pull PowerOfEvil in to take a turret shot. Didn't work out. Not the end of the world. It has been a fairly slow laning phase, and we did see Hjarnan eat that Dark Binding, but that also just resulted in some damage.
You really see Odoamne here respecting how strong Irelia is going to be in a few minutes, so he goes for Sunfire Cape as well, just to have one of the cheapest tank items he can get. Obviously using that cloth armor as well, building into it. Normally though against Irelia, Randuin's Omen would be a lot better. But in this case, he's also looking for some pushing power to take down this turret with the Sunfire.
Well, we'll see. He's going to gnaw Vizicsacsi, but Chachi did not get hit into the wall. So without that stun and follow-up, it just means loulex is going to back away. So Vizicsacsi, 1 Blade Surge, he escapes the gank in the top lane.
Kikis here down the bottom lane. The 2 junglers, they keep swapping positions on the map. When loulex is ganking top lane, Kikis was looking towards the bottom side. Dragon is spawning, so that's why he's here now. Getting at least a 1 deep ward down. And if loulex would have stayed top lane, we might have seen Unicorns try it. But then you have to remember there's the ulti from a Rek'Sai and obviously a TP from Odoamne, so loulex can make these plays on the top side and still join for Dragon. So
as even as this game is going to get at the 12-minute mark, Dragon is up right now. We do see the makings of that Morellonomicon for PowerOfEvil versus a completed Athenes for Ryu. The one thing that I do think we need to keep our eyes on is just how many hit points the respective towers have in each of the lanes. I get the vibe that once a tower goes down for either team, it's just going to free up their ability to move. Odoamne's got the advantage in the top lane, and we'll take a look at the others in just a moment.
Yeah, mid lane has taken about 25% damage, but the bottom lanes have barely been touched by either team. So they might just trade the mid for the top turret, but that's where you always want to get the mid turret down, because that opens up the entrance to the enemy jungle 2 ways, where top lane only really opens up around the tri-bush itself. But let's see what happens. Once again, Odoamne is pushing down. He wants this tower. He's actually jumping forward with his Chachi.
Oh, he's been stunned under the tower. Chachi! Chachi! There you go. With a 1-2 punch, he gets first blood. We'll break that down in a second as H2K, they've started up the second dragon. That's a flash forward from Hylissang. He's looking for the soul shackles. loulex is just melted in his position. That's a flash forward from Kikis. He's looking for Hjarnan. KaSing's going to save Hjarnan's life for the time being. Look for Ryu. He's hanging around on the sidelines, sniffing for something to happen. But just like that, Unicorns of Love find 2 kills and get position on Drake.
Yeah, they've been very wrong the last minute for H2K here. First, Odoamne trying to stop the recall from Vizicsacsi. He dies, and then H2K actually started Dragon with 4 guys against 4. Despite not getting any kills or any direct vision control, it's very risky this early to take the damage from the Dragon and also risk getting flanked around like we saw Unicorns do here. So 2 kills Dragon as well for them. And suddenly Trinity Force is completed. It's going to be very soon for the Corki as well. Then we can start seeing some aggressive plays.
Well, Unicorns of Love bided their time. They lost 1 dragon, and at the 13-minute mark, they punish an over-aggressive Odoamne and secure their first dragon of the game. For the Unicorns, 2 Trinity Forces. You did mention that a moment ago. Moby boots on Hylissang. No flash. It doesn't matter. UOL still looking to get tower pressure. I think if you look across the map, H2K, despite just losing that lead a moment ago, they're the ones that has got the tower pushing pressure. Odoamne has got a couple hits away from securing this top tower. So let's see who's going to get the first one, who's going to unlock their lane.
So Chachi here actually just went aggressive onto Odoamne to give him that extra amount of fury. So he popped into Gnar, and now he couldn't actually take down the tower with his ranged auto attack. So that was smart enough. Oh, Rio!
Oh, he missed another one! We see PowerOfEvil throwing down the damage.
There we go.
He's going to manage to secure the first kill. It's mid laners down in reply. However, it was PowerOfEvil that got the kill. Now Hylissang, he's knocked up. Buckshot out, collateral damage down. Kikis has engaged to fight that. Maybe he shouldn't have. Cataclysm's out. He manages to crush the sandworm before he gets killed in return. Hjarnan managing to secure the kill and the red buff. 2 for 3.
Yeah, Hjarnan here roaming earlier than Vardags, so he was able to join the fight actually and win it for H2K. Go straight for this turret. Now Vardags is here after staying in the bottom lane first, trying to defend the turret. He will be able to, but it took a lot of damage. And again, some easy kills now for H2K.
Trinity Forces picked up by Unicorns of Love, but it's H2K with the aggressive move, and Ryu, he's 0 for 2.
Again, look at the minimap here. So yeah, Ryu missing another ulti. Hjarnan is already on his way. He actually was back down towards the bottom side, then turning around. Vardags is left in the lane itself, and that's why H2K can now come in and start cleaning this one up. Kikis want to get a kill, doesn't realize his own AD carry is not even close, and he's going to end up dying for it as well.
So, H2K moves and counter moves. It's H2K that got on the board first with the dragon before losing the follow-up, and well, blue buff did go to Ryu. We did see during the course of that replay that Odoamne was able to secure the first tower of the game. So H2K now, this sort of game of chess, the strategic moves, it's H2K that have slowly clawed a minor lead. Itemization, we did see that Morellonomicon completed. Needlessly large rod still for PoE. Trinity Forces on the side of Unicorns. And Odoamne just going full tank. No Hex Trinket today.
And it's actually H2K making the move in the mid lane, where it was supposed to be Unicorns of Love with the Trinity Force on Corki, grouping up early and start pushing down on these turrets. Instead, Vardags again has been left in the bottom lane, while H2K say, okay, we don't care, it's a dead lane for us at the moment, we're just going to put our focus mid lane. So they actually get a tower, despite that mid-game spike of Unicorns here. Despite that mid-game spike. It's a lot of
Makes sense to me. But we do see the tension and the pressure of this matchup. It has really slowed down the tempo. H2K maintain control of the Scuttle Crab in the bottom. I quite like Hjarnan donating that one to his jungler. Going to get that plus 30 additional gold. Thanks, of course, to having his jungle item. But let's see what control H2K can gain. Unicorns group themselves up. And still sticking in their lanes, despite the tower being down. Odoamne is not posturing to put any pressure elsewhere. I guess they got top, they got middle. Next logical one is going to be bottom, most likely to coincide with the next dragon.
Yeah, no real reason for Odoamne to ever leave his lane. Still very tanky and just farming against Chachi. But Unicorns, again, they were supposed to be the team to make this move here. To take down the mid turret, or at least force H2K to sit in a 4-on-4 in the mid lane. Instead, H2K were the proactive one after winning that fight as well. Got the turret very low. So honestly, they've done pretty much what they could do at this stage of the game.
Well, it's very early to say.
For H2K, it's not
minute
for Unicorns.
But for H2K, as you mentioned, Deficio, 0-2 week 1, 2-0 week 2, 0-2 week 3. This week, technically, according to the curse, would actually be a 2-0 week. And they need to do a little bit more to secure that win against Unicorns. They've got themselves 1,000 gold lead. You see loulex moving his way towards the bottom. I wanted to see if they can work. If they can work this to their advantage. Warmog's picked up for both top and jungler on H2K. That is a super beefy front line.
It is, and again, H2K, they're just buying time here. You've already gotten 2 out of turrets. You have a dragon as well for the 6% AP and AD. You are happy going back to standard lanes. As long as you can see where Vardags is on this Corki, you know that there won't be like a fast push suddenly going on, because you can always see him sitting in the bottom lane. So that's fine for them. You want to get your 2-item spike on the Graves as well, where he suddenly can now start out-damaging a Corki. In terms of like overall poking, burst coming in from him. So Hjarnan, I mean, he's perfectly fine. at the moment.
Notice the timing. 30 seconds until Dragon is up, and all of a sudden H2K are grouping. The flash, the death sentence connects with PowerOfEvil, but the flay goes way wide. Cataclysm comes out and instantly flashed away from. Now loulex is caught behind enemy territory. He's going to be able to tunnel his way to safety for the time being as KaSing catches Chachi. Soul Shackles goes out and will take out the Queen of the Rek'Sai. The Mega Gnar throws them backwards. It's a 1-for-1 trade as a double stun from Odoamne. Ryu hits 2 with his third ultimate, and the collateral damage from behind. H2K are showing up, and they have taken 3 in reply for 1.
Might not be over yet. Oh, PowerOfEvil forced to flash. And Hjarnan coming in again here. Dragon is alive for H2K if they want to go for it. But they're the ones making the plays. KaSing flashing in with the death sentence here onto PowerOfEvil. Start the fight. Actually looked bad in the start. But then because Mega Gnar came up from Odoamne, he could jump in, re-engage the whole fight. Hjarnan came roaming up and cleaned up the last kill as well. Dragon for H2K. Honestly, they're looking solid.
Power spikes in favor of Unicorns with those Trinity forces, but not working out. Here's a replay of that flash death sentence.
Again, KaSing, he likes to make these big plays. Yes, okay, you missed a play and ulti in this case, and you actually end up losing your jungler first. But because Mega Gnar is coming from Odoamne, that's all they're waiting for. Buying time now. Okay, loulex, you go down. Odoamne, he stays, keeps auto-attacking, keeps building up the energy. Then he goes in. Hylissang goes down. Ryu actually lands an ulti as well. Easy one for him on Odoamne. Clean up a few kills.
Well played by H2K. They managed to get themselves that second dragon. A bunch of flashes from the Unicorns of Love, and they're off to a very, very positive start. 2,500 gold lead. 1 kill in the advantage, and now trying to fend off Unicorns who have just snuck their first tower of the game. It's still balancing on a knife edge. Yes, H2K have had good engages. Yes, H2K have got a lead, but they are somewhat reliant on their ultimates. They are somewhat reliant on getting the Mega Gnar, getting the Shockwave. So if H2K make one misstep in those fights, I think Unicorns can pull it back.
Yeah, that's the thing again. It's pretty tough to play to come from H2K because fail one of your ultis and suddenly Unicorns of Love can re-engage on the side. But honestly, the way they've been playing so far, getting these outer turrets, getting the kills, a lot of farm as well. The Graves towards the static shift point. I think I said earlier that Graves couldn't do more burst damage than a Corki. I'd like to take that one back. That was not exactly what I meant to say. I was saying Graves on 2 item spikes is going to be very, very strong.
We'll see if they can make it count. Hjarnan's been able to respond to those team fights. I'd say a little better than Vardags. He managed to make it to the mid lane on both of the 2 team fights that have occurred. And while Vardags hasn't necessarily been involved, 0 kills, 0 assists, that's going to be a testament to that. He is still scaling. He is still going to be in a position where he can make an impact shortly.
The thing is, though, for Vardags, he's always been a step behind Hjarnan in this game. Hjarnan's been pushing down the wave, and then Vardags would join, and he would stay for too long, while H2K would then roam to mid lane and make a play. And that actually cost Unicorns a lot.
That's
flashing away. But look at the bot lane here. Someone needs to go back down and defend.
That's an uncharacteristic mistake from Kikis. Didn't manage to get that flag and drag. And of course, he did get the flash from loulex. So let's see what Hjarnan can do. There's a million pings in that middle lane. H2K may be trading mid tower for bottom inner tower. We do hear the Rek'Sai scream. They're coming from behind.
But again, this was the push I was expecting like 5-6 minutes ago from Unicorns, where they grouped together. You have the Morgana as well for disengage, but we're going to get a fight.
Well, let's see what happens. The attack and dissonance goes out. Kikis caught in the back line. Gnar goes out. Kikis gets the Cataclysm down, which will kill KaSing before he is taken out in reply. We did see Chachi recall and try to put some presence on Hjarnan. He gets caught by the Dark Binding. Soul Shackles is out. That was an ultimate blown, so AD carry and support in reply for a jungler. H2K did get a tower in the bottom lane. Unicorns got a tower in the middle lane. Overall, net gain for Unicorns of Love.
Got at least to open up the mid lane and show what they can do with the Syndra Corki. Vizicsacsi just didn't have a teleport ready to join the fight, and he was very late getting to the bottom lane. That's why he lost the tower to Hjarnan as well. So we're not seeing the same kind of play from Unicorns like we did last week. It's a bit more sloppiness, I think it's safe to say. But they're getting there now. At least got the 2 turrets down. Keep using your insanely strong Syndra and also the Trinity Force Corki.
And I also want to quote something that Sharks actually mentioned 2 weeks ago when talking about the Unicorns of Love, saying how as a team they have this go switch and it tends to be on all the time. And one of the reasons that they were struggling in many of their games, they were over-aggressive as a team. However, last week, Unicorns managed to find some control, managed to find some patience. We actually mentioned they found that pause button. Now it feels like they're a little stuck in the pause mode, as they've had these power spikes, they've had these opportunities to play aggressive, and have opted to not take them. So now, ironically, they need to go back to a style of play from earlier in the split, where they are looking to fight and actually looking to, you know, catch H2K off guard.
We're gonna see here as well from Vardags. He's not going Blade into the double tank from H2K's side. Instead going for Infinity, so he wants the highest amount of single target damage he can get. Question is if loulex and Odoamne will even allow him to sit an auto attack or force him to sit so far back he only deals damage with his rockets, at least for most of the fight itself. So no lifesteal coming in from him. Again, not a lot of poke coming in from H2K, so you don't really need that lifesteal on his side, so that's fine.
Well, the tempo of the game is playing into Vardags' favor, that he's going to have the opportunity to build towards that high edge. 25 minutes in, 1,000 gold separates the teams, 4 towers to 3. I mean, again, it is just completely even.
It is, and as you just said before here, the game allows Vardags to go in vintage because Unicorns are not looking to aggressively push down any turrets. Then you would have gone for the BT, get the lifesteal. Obviously, you don't need the crit when hitting a tower, the shield to keep you alive when you are in there auto-attacking on the turret itself. Instead, Unicorns are actually looking more for team fights, as they kind of missed the spike, and that's why he's going for Infinity as well. Yeah,
and of course, if Vardags is caught by a collateral knock-up shockwave, no BT sustain in the world is going to survive that.
Then he's been mispositioned anyway if he gets caught out like that.
Yeah. So a lot of pressure on Vardags' team fighting ability in this mid to late game. He isn't one of his better AD carries. 3 games played, 16 kills, 8 deaths, and 38 assists. Right, Cataclysm dunk. loulex is just going to tunnel away. They'll be happy with that trade. Kikis hoping for more than he could get.
That was the main engage gone now for Unicorn, so they're on even terms because H2K on their side, they're going to rely on either like loulex using the tunnel to get in or Odoamne jumping in and Morgana to start fights. They don't really have any other engage, but they're going to try and pop it here. Rage building up Odoamne. Good timing for the dragon itself. Let's see if H2K can actually get a fight. Notice how he's delaying the Morgana for as long as possible, knowing they can take the dragon, and he just wanted ready if the fight will break out.
Instant peel from the Unicorns. They wanted nothing of that engage. The ticking time bomb is a fairly slow fuse, and H2K got their 3rd dragon. That was uncontested, and it was thanks to Kikis' maybe over-eagerness to try and trap loulex.
Yeah, safe to say at least.
Well, pressure is now on this mid turret. H2K grouped up as 5. Teleport available for Chachi. Deficio, that mid-game power spike the Unicorns had available is not being used. And it's H2K that gets 75% of their turret's HP down in 1.5–2 million waves.
A little bit too easy for them as well. There's actually decent wave clear between a Syndra and a Corki, but Unicorns try to poke instead of clear the waves, which allowed H2K to get a lot of damage on the tower. And stay grouped DS5. Remember, you don't really want that Gnar into Irelia anymore. You want to look for these big team fights together. We're gonna have to see if it's gonna be hard for H2K to start fights, because again they are lacking that hard engage. It's all about the Gnar jumping in or a flash in from loulex. We saw earlier Rainover go for distortion on his boots on Rek'Sai when he had a similar situation. Could be an option here for loulex itself. Otherwise, Unicorns again, as long as they can get the 1-4 going, they can actually do some work.
So KaSing, however, has been relatively good at landing those death sentences. One more option. Hylissang's going to take a little spit or two from Baron. Actually, that's a lot of spits, let's be fair. Half of his HP down. But for H2K, they seem to be content playing the slower game. They've been more proactive. Took the first dragon, picked the fights, pushed the towers. It hasn't resulted in absolute control because their opponents have managed to put replies on the board. And every single time you hear that Rek'Sai scream, loulex is just looking for more farm and more vision. Once again, taking control of those crabs in the bottom half of the jungle. Infinity Edge completed now for Vardags. Deficio win for the long haul, as these teams are signaling that it's going to be all about those dragon fights.
Yeah, 3 already picked up by H2K, 1 by Unicorns, so no real biggie yet for any of the teams. The next one will of course be important, but as long as Unicorns can play around the Gnar and like he's rage bar and see, okay, it's about to go Mega Gnar, fine, we just back away. Mega Gnar pops, that's the main engage option from H2K. It runs out and then Unicorns can actually walk in and start fighting. And obviously again, Vizicsacsi, he's looking for these one-on-ones, he's gonna get it now. And it's...
We'll see how this goes. Wallop.
That is slow paced.
Blade Surge. Red buff is there. It's a race and Chachi is winning. Gonna force the Gnar ultimate from Odoamne. Not a matchup that Odoamne wants, but Odoamne is not looking for the 1v1, he's looking for the team fights. Let's see the positioning. UOL grouped up in the jungle.
This fight meant that you can actually take the wave now from Unicorns Aloft and push it up, and that's why they're moving from mid lane down towards this bottom side. Didn't want to go for any siege in there. Instead, trying to join in with the wave itself, but H2K have been reading it. They're already here to defend, forcing Unicorns Aloft to now back away, and once again, wait for a dragon to spawn, or constantly try and push out these waves here. Vizicsacsi does not have the damage to really burst down Odoamne in any way, so we're always going to have these fairly long one-on-ones. He's going to win it, but it buys enough time for H2K then to send up players, to defend the lane after if Unicorns want to join in, like we saw here.
Oh, the shockwave flashed away from Hylissang. Ryu looking for another one. He's 1 for 4, but this one was dodged, not missed. I like the fact that UOL were willing to go aggressive. Once Odoamne did not have his Mega Gnar available. Chachi wants to dive, Kikis does not. He was burned before. And Odoamne went Mega Gnar, gonna have all of that additional tankiness to burn through. UOL are not giving up on this bottom turret, but the support from H2K will be here shortly. Let's see what they can do for wave clear. Ryu's got a lot of damage and he's gonna be the primary one.
Hjarnan was top lane before and he was gonna push out the wave, he start the slow push for them, which means actually Unicorns Aloft can get some damage on the turret this time around.
50% of it down, we see those spears coming out. PowerOfEvil unleashes his power. Only just poking down Ryu, not gonna be enough to really secure anything more than some damage on the tower, but
it's gonna be a slow grind here.
It is one. With 31 minutes in, 3 towers to 4. Again, gold is even. H2K minorly in the lead, but 1 minute to go for the next dragon. Let's see who's gonna get better positioning. I was optimistic.
So the Unicorns actually had a chance here to ward up this blue, the blue side jungle from H2K around the blue buff itself. Decide to actually go back, so not really getting any vision control before the dragon spawns, so not going to try and trap H2K, which now allows both teams actually to walk down themselves, reset the whole game again, as everyone just recalled. 40 seconds on it. We might see a tricky play where you try and bait H2K to take the dragon, and then you rush the Baron yourself, because there's no wards on it. And that's also why Vizicsacsi is moving over here, setting up for that option, or just getting this vision down from the Skull Crab so he can actually start the dragon himself and see if H2K are trying to do it.
Well, let's see what decision these teams make. Really has been a patient game. And for H2K, I still feel there's so much emphasis on Ryu and Odoamne using their ultimates effectively that it could go wrong. There is these 2 ultra tanks doing battle. Odoamne is going to have the support of Ryu. So Odoamne gets a little bit of damage down from that hyper and has to back away. loulex caught this time with no full support, and Kikis holds his Cataclysm for disengage.
It is really good warding from Unicorns here around it, denying a lot of vision from H2K. Just got to get that one ward here in a small bush on the side. There we go, pink ward from Hylissang. So they have full control, and again, they can see Odoamne at all times. They can see his rage bar now is full, wait for that Mega Gnar to pop, wait for it to disappear again, and then you can start a dragon, and H2K doesn't want to fight anymore because they have the small mini Gnar.
Well, Nagada, the house gets thrown out, so UOL will be aware. Seeker gets some damage. Ryu looks for the shockwave that melts through the black shield. Hylissang is in trouble. He's knocked up. He gets gnawed against the wall, but not stunned. It takes a wallop and a house to finish him out. Now Kikis walks through the box. He's slowed. loulex is going to get taken out by PowerOfEvil's unleashed power. This is a sloppy fight with UOL in the background. They've got Vardags taking damage from the side lane. Well, Hjarnan was dropped. Everybody split up. 3 for 2. Make that 3 for 3 as Kikis is trying to run down Odoamne with Chachi. That Irelia doing so much work. Ryu is in place.
Ryu is
the attack in the distance. H2K may be able to finish this one out. The Mega Gnar comes out again, and it's H2K that ace UOL. That was drawn out, and H2K didn't need their ultimates.
No, they didn't, but like Unicorns of Love here, they set up around the small choke point coming into the dragon itself, looking for a pick. So they had no walls on that blue buff we talked about before. Ryu actually gets a good, somewhat good shockwave at least to start the fight and get some damage on Hylissang and Vardags. Odoamne still had some time on that Mega Gnar, and also everything from the carries of Unicorns are blown onto loulex. Hjarnan will be dropped down, being dived as well. So now it's just a very split up fight. Obviously, the sustained damage of an Orianna is fantastic, and just Odoamne being able to get a second Mega Gnar as well later on, allowing H2K to actually win the fight, and I do believe they started the dragon as well after.
Yeah, we did see that flash in from PowerOfEvil
Ryu
to secure the kill, and just would have costed him. So 5 for 3, and H2K securing yet another dragon. Mega Gnar keeping Odoamne alive. You don't need a wombo combo if your fight lasts 25 seconds.
Yeah, and it was actually well played by Ryu as well. First he was kiting and he just kept running away until Unicorns turned around, and then he didn't start recalling anything. He actually rejoined the fight. And obviously an Orianna at this point, 3 items completed for her. Didn't get punished early on at all for being fairly passive like we often see with the Orianna. And then you see the consistent damage he can actually pull down.
So H2K going to be very happy with the situation. Next dragon is the all-important 5th dragon. That could be what breaks the stalemate. H2K still only 2,500 gold in the lead at 35 minutes. Odoamne is a mega tank Gnar with that Thorn Mail. He's got all of the coats on. Every single coat, he's wearing it. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Randuin's as a last item. We'll see what he decides to pick up. Vizicsacsi on the other hand. Warmogs, Randuin's, Triforce. Also a pretty beefy Kikis. But it hasn't mattered. UOL may have waited too long. PowerOfEvil is way caught. Dark Binding goes out, and Odoamne carry on chasing. H2K punishing UOL for a small misstep.
Yeah, it can't happen this late in the game. You cannot be caught out like that. You also have a black shield, worst case, but they're just not in a position to use it.
loulex looking for more collateral damage available. It's not even needed. Actually wasn't available. That was a buckshot. And we did see 2 kills picked up for H2K. Unicorns punished for a misplay, punished for being in the wrong place. H2K securing an inhibitor turret and the inhibitor. Super minions and a 5th dragon soon. It's been a slow strangulation, but H2K now have Unicorns on the back foot. Ryu's caught out, Shockwave catches 2. He goes golden, now Kikis in trouble. Buckshot from Hjarnan secures another kill, 4-2 and 1. And H2K setting up with no jungle presence. This could be Baron.
Could be Baron. Did you have blue buff on your mid lane as well, so full mana. No problems here. 2 guys from Unicorns in the base itself. Should be the Baron now for H2K. And honestly, this slow-paced game has just benefit them all around. They were the ones making the plays early on. Unicorns misplayed their composition there and their power spikes, and they've just been punished for it.
Well, that's what Odoamne can do. He's chasing, he's throwing skill shot after skill shot. There are minions backing him out. Chuck the chimney, the kitchen sink, and everything else you can before KaSing pulls him out to safety. Now Vizicsacsi is playing aggressive. You can see that Hjarnan moved up to the top lane to deal with that big minion wave that we saw in the mini-map. Minions doing some work, securing Unicorns a tower, but it feels like it's too little. Now that H2K have got Baron, they've got a strong lead, they've got super minions, and a dragon to take shortly.
Yeah, the only problem now for H2K is you want to push down multiple lanes because of the wave clear from Unicorns, but you don't really have the comp to do it. You can start a slow push, but that's going to take a while, and then your Baron buff will almost have ran out by that time. So I think for them, they might honestly just wait again for this last dragon and not necessarily look to make too many aggressive pushes with the Baron itself. Get that 5th dragon first, and then go down as 5. And then you can really start hitting these turrets with 30% extra damage on them. Take down the structures very, very fast. 2
minutes less than until that dragon is up. Roughly the same amount of time that the Baron buff will last. Let's see what Unicorns can do. They are the ones playing aggressively. They did not manage to get control of that blue buff. Picked it up. It does look like Ryu was able to secure it.
needs to go back very, very fast. Because this lane has been built up slowly by Odoamne. They've seen him walk pretty much from his own tier 2 turret with his wave all the way down.
That is a giant Gnar.
And there was no reaction from Unicorns. That was just a free tower for H2K.
Well, look at this. It's H2K that are grouping.
For sure. I mean,
Fight
if you start pushing,
dragons up.
So
gonna punish again. Unicorns uncharacteristically out of position. Death Sentence doesn't connect. 50% of the inhibitor turret is down. Another minion wave. Conga lines in. There's 2 Baron buffed siege minions up. He has to stun hit Odoamne, but you don't want Odoamne. Unleashed power not used yet from PowerOfEvil, and those siege minions still doing work. Here comes Vizicsacsi. Cataclysm comes out. It's Kikis that's in trouble. loulex gets pulled to safety by the lantern. Now Chachi eats a house. Odoamne looking for more. Does not have anything else to give. But H2K get a kill and the tower, and Hylissang is just melted from the damage of Ryu. H2K peeling away, Dragons up in 20.
And again, that was just Unicorn's tunnel visioning on the dragon, which was going to spawn in about 1 minute and 30 seconds when this whole thing started. Didn't pay attention to Odoamne, building up a massive wave in the top lane, pushing it down, and suddenly it was just easy for H2K to walk over and say, fair enough, you're going to give us first tower. We have 2 cannon minions as well, Baron buffed. Take another one for them. Gonna get the dragon as well, or will they? TP coming in from Chachi. It's only 4 members from Unicorns against 5 from H2K. This is not gonna work. It's not gonna work.
This is gonna be
Abandoned
scary.
mission.
Dragon is up. It is secured. Chachi's gonna get caught by a boomerang. H2K looking for more. KaSing, he flashes. He gets Hylissang. Black Shield is up, so he's not gonna get rooted. And despite the Soul Shackles going out, Ryu has found PowerOfEvil. That is not gonna be a powerful man as he's down. The wallop holds Chachi in place. It's 2 kills and Dragon number 5. Odoamne's got over 4,500 hit points in Mega Bajillion Gnar, and he is just going to destroy Unicorns of Love. It seems the power of the mythical beasts has been tamed, and H2K are pushing in for the victory to round out their week with a strong first victory.
Overall, just a very good game by H2K here, and actually showing they have great shot calling now. They know where to be in the map. They know how to create the plays. KaSing is not afraid to flash in on this Thresh here, trying to start a fight. And honestly, looking at the last 2 weeks, oh well, last week and this week, H2K looked like a stronger team than Unicorns of Love and more consistent in the way they're playing. If you just look at the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, 3 games, I would agree with that. H2K slow and steady. But truthfully, they were always in control.
Yeah,
truthfully, they were making more proactive plays. And Unicorns, despite their timings and items, they didn't do anything.
That was the weird thing, because Vardags was sitting in that bottom lane. He stayed there for such a long time when you were supposed to be the one grouping up here and actually try and create a pick through the Syndra stun and the Morgana binding. They didn't, and instead it was just H2K saying, fair enough, you're going to sit back and farm. We're going to make the plays. Roaming from KaSing, Hjarnan leaving the lane as well, winning these early fights for them, getting the early dragons. And Ryu could just sit back and farm on Orianna. He didn't have to do anything. He got to 3 items, said, fair enough, now I'm going to fight. And then he was really strong because he actually got to scale into late game. So this was a game for Unicorns where they have to go back and look at the champion and say, when do we need to abuse our spikes? When could we actually make some plays? Because we didn't do it this game.
Massive difference in faces. Prolly over the moon ecstatic. And you saw the stern seriousness of Sheepy from the Unicorns of Love. This actually ties them up in the standings at 5 wins, 4 losses apart. In contrast to Elements, who find themselves at 4 wins, 5 losses.
Yeah.
The middle of the table is blown wide open. The middle of the table is open up to so many
teams.
teams.
The UOL, yes. I mean, everyone in the middle of the table, you can just beat each other left and right. Rocket obviously now actually falling further and further down.
Yeah.
But the Copenhagen Wolves picked up a win as well. So suddenly we have like Wolves, H2K, Unicorns, and Elements sitting near each other, fighting for that number 3 spot. Obviously, Fnatic and SK are still
a few games away.
A few games away from the rest.
8-1, 7-2. So they need to lose more games for anybody to catch those 2 guys. But I'm actually glad you brought up the Copenhagen Wolves, because their name now needs to be added to the conversation of Unicorns of Love and H2K.
Yeah.
H2K and the Wolves have improved over the 5 weeks of the LCS more than any other teams. I think if you look at all 10 teams, they have shown that they've adapted to the stage,